All right, let's talk about a true titan of literature. Today, we're going to try and demystify the genius of the one and only William Shakespeare. We're going to find out why, 4 whole centuries later, he's still basically in a league of his own.
I mean, it's a totally fair question, right? In a world where trends come and go in a flash, why on earth does a writer from the 16th century still dominate our stages, our screens, and pretty much every English class? What makes him the greatest of all time? Well, that's exactly what we're here to figure out.
So, to start, you just have to acknowledge his status. For centuries, William Shakespeare has been seen as maybe the most influential writer in the entire English language, maybe even in all of world literature. But look, a reputation that big, it isn't built on hype. It's built on a body of work that really, truly changed everything.
So, who was this guy, really? Born back in 1564, Shakespeare was a playwright, a poet, and an actor. But honestly, those titles barely scratch the surface. His real legacy, the reason we are still talking about him today, is his unbelievable knack for getting right to the very heart of what it means to be human.
Okay, so what was his secret? Well, the first pillar of his genius is his absolute total command of language and his incredible versatility. You see, he didn't just write plays, he kind of reinvented the tools of storytelling itself.
He wasn't just telling great stories. He was forging a new language for drama. His use of imagery and metaphor, it made you feel emotions, not just hear about them. He was a pioneer of blank verse, this unrhymed poetry that actually sounds like how people talk, and it gave his plays this revolutionary new rhythm. And his characters, wow, they weren't just simple heroes or villains. They were complex, they were flawed, and they felt so real, capturing every single shade of the human experience you can imagine.
And this table just lays it all out perfectly. You've got his tragedies, which we'll get into, where he dives deep into our biggest flaws. But then he could pivot and write these brilliant comedies, all about wit, love, and hilarious mix-ups. And on top of that, he wrote histories, turning England's past into these epic dramas about power. I mean, think about it. Mastering just one of these genres is a lifetime achievement. Mastering all 3? That's something else entirely. That's genius.
Now, to really understand Shakespeare's depth, you have to look at his tragedies. This is where he holds a mirror up to all of us, to our deepest fears, our worst flaws, and our biggest questions about, well, everything.
Let's start with the big one, Hamlet. At its core, this is a story about a young man who is just completely paralyzed by grief and this huge, heavy burden of avenging his father's murder. It's an incredible dive into what it feels like to question everything. And boom, there it is, probably the most famous line in all of English literature. This one quote just perfectly captures the entire play's struggle, grappling with life, death, and what it all even means. It's a question that, let's be honest, resonates with every single one of us at some point.
Then in Othello, he explores a totally different kind of darkness. It's a devastating look at how easily trust can just be shattered. It's a masterclass in psychological drama, showing how the poison of jealousy, fueled by lies and prejudice, can turn a good man into a monster. Next up is King Lear, and wow, this one is a tough but powerful look at suffering. You have a proud king who makes a terrible mistake, and he's betrayed by the people he trusts the most. His journey from this all-powerful ruler to a broken man, literally wandering in a storm, it's just this gut-wrenching look at pride, loss, and how fragile our sanity can be. And finally, Macbeth. You could call this the ultimate cautionary tale. We watch a brave, noble warrior get completely twisted and corrupted by his own ambition until he becomes this paranoid tyrant. The whole play is just a terrifying look at how guilt can eat you alive.
But, like we said, Shakespeare was not all doom and gloom, not by a long shot. His ability to just flip the switch from the darkest tragedy to the lightest comedy, that's another huge piece of his genius.
Just look at this comparison. It's wild, right? On one hand, you have the paranoia and moral decay of Macbeth. On the other, you've got the magic, mistaken identities, and all the love and laughter in A Midsummer Night's Dream. How can the same mind produce both of these? That's the key. He could capture the entire spectrum of being human, from our absolute worst to our most joyful.
And, as if all that wasn't enough, his talent wasn't just for the stage. The man was also a master poet. In his famous sonnets, he would take these huge ideas, love, beauty, time, death, and distill them into just 14 perfect lines. It's absolutely breathtaking stuff.
So, you add it all up, the language, the characters, the incredible emotional range, and you get a legacy that is just unshakable. Let's wrap this up by looking at why his work is still so powerful even 400 years later. Remember those sonnets we just mentioned? Well, he wrote 154 of them. And that number, it's not just some piece of trivia. It represents this monumental contribution to poetry all on its own. I mean, even if he'd never written a single play, his sonnets alone would have made him a literary legend. It just shows you his relentless creativity.
The bottom line is, Shakespeare's influence is pretty much inescapable. He's a foundational figure. His plays have never, ever gone out of production. They've been translated into every major language, and they've been adapted into movies, musicals, you name it. In a way, he didn't just write about the human experience, he gave us the words to talk about it.
And that brings us right back to the start. Why does he still matter? Well, because we haven't changed all that much. We still struggle with ambition like Macbeth. We feel that sting of jealousy like Othello. We fall hopelessly in love, and we grieve for our losses, just like Hamlet. So I'll leave you with this to think about. Which of his timeless themes do you see playing out in your own